Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to actually just do a little comparison to Android and iOS. This is going to be my third video on this because people keep calling me and I didn't realize that on an iOS device when someone calls you, it completely stops your recording. I don't have that issue with Android, but you know what? You learn something new every day. Anywho, to make this as fast as possible, because this is my third time of 30-minute videos. Basically, iOS devices are more so closed source, while Android is open source. What that means is that when it comes to developers, like if you're a new developer, you're looking to make new apps, it might be easier for you to get onto the Android market or use software under Android because it's open source. You also have the ability to just install applications, APK files. If you don't know what that is, that basically means you could go to Google, you can search a particular app, and you're able to take the file of that app, even if it's not on the App Store, and forcibly install it on your phone at your own risk, of course. And that's actually how I get some of the games that no longer exist. Like, I forget the name of the game, but there's some games that are no longer on the App Store or iOS Store or Google Play Store that I still use to this day on my Android device. If we're talking software, Apple's going to have the better software. They're going to have better software updates anyway. Now, when I say better, we're talking about integration over the entire platform. We're not saying personal preference. So anyone that likes Android better, which is, I'm definitely a person where I prefer Android software as a whole, it's just a customization. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's better. Like when it comes to transferring apps, transferring app data, password management, being able to send data to and from each device, it's a smoother transition with Apple devices. So that's why you typically see iPhones and amongst other things in the offices as work phones, because not only is the service plan cheap to replace them, it's just it's easier to integrate yourself in Apple devices than it is in Android, especially since Androids drastically change each year. It could be different to the software, it could be different to how it looks, which can be very confusing and intimidating to new people. But again, if you're the type of person where you like new software or you like a change, Apple isn't going to change over the next 20 years. We already know that. For the most part, their system is the same. They'll do tweaks here and there. They'll add certain features to simplify or make their service better, which is what they're doing. It's the right choice. While Android, on the other hand, is still developing new softwares. And, again, sometimes that's for the better, sometimes it's for the worse. So you kind of have to take that how you feel. Personally, I use both platforms. And until you actually personally use both, you won't know which one is better, but I'm going to try to narrow that down based on, some of your lifestyle options in this video right here. So transferring files is going to be much easier in an Android device than it is going to be in an iOS device. And the reason being is Android devices work as storage devices, same as your regular USBs. I can't make it any simpler than that. You plug in a phone, you use a USB, USB-C probably, because most phones use USB-C in this day and age. Some phones require you to pull down a screen and press file transfer. Some do it automatically once you set it once. Once that's done, a prompt will normally pop up on your PC, which actually gives you the option to tap it, and it will show you if you have a memory card data. It will show you if your phone could take a memory card, first off. And it'll also show you the internal memory of your device itself. Once that happens, you can just drag and drop, pull things off, pull things on. You have USB 3.0 for speed, and I think they're a little bit past USB 3.0 right now, but I'm not trying to give you the 100% details, just letting you know which one's faster. Androids do tend to have faster file transferring from PC or laptop or desktop or tablet, whatever it is when you're transferring files. Now, we're only talking about transferring files that way. We're not talking about AirDrop, because AirDrop is very efficient, but that's only with Apple devices. While with Android devices, to me, it's easier to upload videos also, because remember, Androids have background processes, meaning an app will still work in the background or load in the background, even if you're not in the application. So if you upload a YouTube video, it is for people that are trying to upload content, your content will still load in the background and it will keep you updated on what's going on. While iOS, you will have to stay physically in that app and leave that app open. Otherwise, it'll pause the upload if you leave it to do a phone call or anything else. Now, the reason for this is, number one, Apple doesn't allow multitasking. You may say, well, why is that? It's primarily because when you allow multitasking and open sourcing, What happens is that it uses more of your processor and your battery, and it just degrades your phone faster. That's one of the reasons why Androids don't last for many years and years and years to come. Some do, don't get me wrong, but your battery tends to degrade faster. Your basic actions, like switching between apps and things, seems to lag a little bit more, especially if you're not using a high-end device. And this is one of the reasons why, because even low-end devices allow more multitasking than Apple. While Apple, on the other hand, preserves what they can for longevity. So sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that could be a bad thing. It's really up to you, again, you as the user to decide that. But since I didn't want to skip file transferring for Apple, you are required to have iTunes. Now, Apple did over the last couple of years recently allow you, like when you take pictures and certain things that's already in the phone, like videos and pictures you took, to pull that off of the device. But you have to understand that that's to here and there, and it doesn't always work properly. Like sometimes it'll say my device is loading too slow, or it takes forever for the iPhone to even recognize that a device, that something's being pulled off that way. You might be better off just uploading it to the cloud, loading into the cloud, and then pulling the application off that way. But again, that requires more steps and more data. And I think that's something that Apple really needs to work on. But again, for the average consumer, they're not using these types of features. They're just talking, texting, and they're streaming music. I actually own what I have when in terms of music and pictures. So every phone I get, I drag that information or just swap a memory card, and then I'm good to go. But for, iOS people, typically with iPhones, you need to have a computer or something to be able to transfer files properly without using a cloud, if that makes sense. While Android devices can stand alone, be a tablet, not just in size, but in talk about processing power. But you'll be buying a high-end phone if you do that, 800, 900 and up, and that pretty much puts you in iPhone territory anyway. So again, at this point, it's all about who do you know, who has an iPhone, who has an Android, how this is going to impact my life, and you make the decision from there. Personally, for me, it's looks, and it's also efficiency. So again, think about what you're purchasing. Just don't buy it because you see a price tag. Internet browsing, well, there is Safari for Apple, which, to be honest, this isn't really a topic we need to talk about, on the simple fact that they both can download Google Chrome. Most phones come with Google Chrome standard. Samsung comes with Google Chrome standard. They also give you a regular like Samsung browser. LG comes with I can't even say LG anymore because they're not really a cell phone company that much anymore. They're kind of out of the cell phone game. So anyway, for the most part, let me not stay on this subject for too long. But yes, you can still have that sync integration between platforms if you use Google Chrome or Firefox or any other device, because they all allow downloads from those third-party sources. Widgets. If anyone knows about Android, you already know what widgets are. They've been there for 100 years, whether it's the weather widget, whether it's the music widget. Widgets for Android work on the main screen, while Apple widgets actually take you into an application when you click it. So it's not a true legitimate live widget, which is okay because iOS operates differently and not everybody knows how to use widgets. I had to Google how to use widgets on my iOS device. But with Android, you just hold the screen. They give you option between wallpaper and a few others, and that's where widget pops up. You do have the option to customize your widgets, and certain applications have multiple versions of widgets, or they allow you to download an extension, but that's neither here nor there. Most people don't really use widgets for the most part. And, when I used to work for Metro by T-Mobile, most customers asked me how to delete the widgets off their screen. So again, if you're the average consumer, I wouldn't concern yourself too much with widgets because it's not going to affect your life that much. Video chat. Well, for the most part, again, this is old information on this particular ad. I'm just telling you what you should and shouldn't have. FaceTime is probably the best application that you can use in terms of quality. It's like picture quality. But that's typically only with Apple devices. Now, they did recently do an update. Well, they recently announced this. It's not done just yet, where you can actually send an invite to a PC user or an Android user. They click the link and they'll join the FaceTime call. So that's basically Apple's way of saying, hey, if I'm an Android user, I still want my quality, I can invite people to the call, similar to like a Zoom or anything else. So if you're familiar with Zoom calls where you get that link, you tap it and it opens up the ad, it'll be similar to this. On the other hand, Android has Google Duo. There are other applications like Skype, but I'm not going to talk about apps that are, to me, are dead. I don't use that. There's Zoom. There's other apps you can use, but Google Duo typically comes with the device. So we're talking about apps that come with the device. Duo works with Apple devices to make calls. It works with Google devices to work calls. You can add multiple people inside it. I forget the exact amount of people, but it's still an alternative for anyone that doesn't have an Apple device. Or if you do have an Apple device and you want to deal with someone that's Google and you don't want to send that FaceTime link, you just want to type in that phone number like a regular contact, then download Google Duo. I do suggest that for both devices. Virtual Assistant, well, Siri is for Apple. I forget the one for Alexa, or no, Alexa is Amazon. I know Samsung made a new one. I forget the woman's name. You know, she blew up, some Android lady. The Google Assistant for Android is leaps and bounds better than Siri. Siri is decent for what it does if it comes to making text messages and calls and telling it to do something. But for the most part, Android got that in the bag. But for me, I personally don't use any of the assistants. I just use the phone as is and I watch. And that's good enough for me. Here's the problem that people typically have right here, where it says available on. Androids are available anywhere and everywhere. That's why there's tens of millions of them. It feels like every day being created, and that could be overwhelming. So what I would suggest is, you know, if you're in the United States, stick to your carriers in terms of specifications on certain phones. Now, that way you'll see certain high-end devices for certain prices that match Apple, and then you'll have a phone that can go for it spec to spec. If you're trying to buy a Samsung A52 and compare that to an iPhone 12 Pro Max, don't do that. A lot of YouTubers do that just to show you how the performance is per phone. It's not to convince you to get this one instead of the other. It's just to show you what mid-tier phones can do against high-end. But you can't compare a high-end to a mid-tier. You can only compare a high-end to a high-end if we're talking about that market. Calls and messages. iMessage to me, I don't know if I even said that in this video because, again, I did it 3 times. But I'm going to say it again. iMessage works closer to Messenger to me. What I mean by that is it allows you to respond to certain text messages, meaning you can hold on to it, click it, add emoji faces and different things. It's much more interactive in general. So I do like iMessage, but again, I don't mind using the regular messages when you send to Android because most of the people that I know are Android users. So there's no harm there. App Store, originally at one point, Apple did have more apps than Android, and Android pretty much caught up because, again, it's an open source, so it's easier for developers to use the software. Now, if we're talking about certain games and applications, sometimes certain games and applications like MMOs go to Apple first, and then they might branch over to Android, or they'll launch on both. So certain key titles do go to Apple instead. I can't really name off the top of my head, but if you're in the market, just make sure all your applications work on both devices. You can easily just go to Google or any web browser and just type in the apps or potential apps that you want, and it'll let you know if it's available on both. Similar to if you go to a GameStop website and you want to make sure that this game is released on a Switch, the PC, PS5, all the systems, you can do the same thing with Android, especially if you're trying to do some research. I talked about the APK files already. I believe I did, but I'll say that again. You can basically take files from the web browser at your own risk, of course, and you can install them into an Android. And because sometimes files lose their licensing reasons, sometimes the file is no longer supported anymore, so it's pulled from the App Store, and you can never use it again. Android will allow you to actually find that file online as long as you can get the data, and you can manually install it for yourself. So, you know, for me, I install certain games like Dragon Run's Return. That's no longer on the App Store or the Play Store. I still like that game, and I still play it to this day. Instead of on my PC, I play it on my phone. I still have a file back from the latest update that it had years ago, many, many years ago, moons ago, and I still play that game. Battery life and management is subjective because each phone is different. Motorola tends to have the best battery lives out of phones, in my opinion. We're talking mainstream phones. We're not talking about that Energizer phone that has a 10,000 battery. We're talking mainstream. Apple phones have come up over the years. The problem is with Apple and Samsung, as a matter of fact, the current devices, the S21 and the Apple phone 12, actually any iPhone from XR on up, they only support 20-watt charging. So even if you get a 30-watt charger, the max output is 20. So you get 30 minutes. 30 minutes will get you 50%, while, you know, you have companies like OnePlus where 30 minutes, 35 minutes will get you from 0 to 100%. And you can keep your phone on, you can still use it. And I've tried this myself. It's very fast. And recently, I forget which phone that you could charge it in 10 minutes. That seems a little unsafe to me. But, as technology keeps going, Apple will eventually need to get with the times and have faster charging. Because that MagSafe charging, for anyone that's interested in it, is a waste of time. It takes about an hour just to get 50-minute charge. So to be in a sense, it's just an experiment until they're able to stabilize it and give you faster charging. That's what's going to happen eventually. But for right now, we're the test dummies when it comes to that type of software. If when I mentioned before about applications open source, that's exactly what Android is. So I can skip this one. iOS, I don't know how you get into the ecosystem of iOS to make applications, but it's not as simple as Android. We already talked about File Manager, Photos, and Backup. So Apple does have their own backup system, and so does Google. Now you can use the Google app to download photos or back it up. I think that's upload. Backup photos from Apple if you choose to. But it is easier to use Apple's own system because it'll do it for you as long as you tap the download button in the settings. So 5 gigs is free for Apple. 15 gigs is free for Android. But the difference is that I forget what month it is if it hasn't already happened. They're going to change that business model where it's going to cost you a certain amount to get it. So I'll keep you updated on that one, on the Android side. So far, there is a monthly subscription on that. Here we go. So the cloud services, you get 15 free for Android, $2 to get you 100 gigs, $10 to get you a terabyte a month. While on the iOS side, 5 gigs is free, $1 will get you 50 gigs, 200 gigs will get you 200 gigs is for $3 a month, and $10 is for a terabyte also. So, if you're in the Apple ecosystem, I suggest getting the backup. That way it's easier for you to transfer files between your computer and your phone, and you're good to go from there. I believe this also affects documents, amongst other things like contacts and notes also. So if you're big on that, especially on iOS, that'll be better for you. Obviously, they're both touchscreen. Apple does have fingerprint scanners, but that's only in the iPhone SE so far. I'm just talking about the current iPhones. And they might try a under the screen fingerprint. I'm not a speculator. I'm not into that nonsense. Personally, I'm fine with them putting a fingerprint on the back of the phone where the Apple sign is. That would be awesome. And it lights up. But we'll never see that happen. But the Face Unlock is very secure in terms of allowing you to actually do pay for services along with the Face Unlock instead of the fingerprint. While Android doesn't have that type of security, what I will note is that they still do fingerprint payments. And for the most part, if you're looking for a decent Face Unlock, because Samsung took away the Retina scanner, OnePlus to me has one of at least the OnePlus N10 5G actually had it where you can unlock a phone in total darkness, similar to an iPhone, which I was very surprised about that, and it's extremely accurate, almost 100% every time. So, I believe the 8T is also the same way. I haven't went higher than 8T. I stopped there because the OnePlus phones are now in Galaxy territory of prices $1,000. I'm not paying that much for a OnePlus phone. I understand that they're a new company building up, but their devices are far under par from any Samsung device that we're talking about overall in quality. They need to, get a reality check and understand you're going to become the next BlackBerry if you keep those prices. But that's just my opinion. So yeah, when it comes to biometrics, you are going to get better security on a Samsung phone. I'm sorry, you're going to get better security on an Apple device. That's what I meant to say. But again, unless you're a government official, what exactly are you hiding besides your couple photos you took, which you probably shouldn't have? Anyhow, neither one of these devices have headphone jacks. The higher end Androids for the most part, but Androids still have like mid-tier. They still keep the headphone jack. They still keep certain features that people want. So you have a variety of what you can get without spending $800 for a phone, at least a high-end device. So in conclusion, I can't sit here and tell you that Android's better than Apple, and I can't tell you that Apple's better than Android. But what I can say is it's good for you as a person. If you don't care about features, you don't care about a high-end camera, get a low-tier Android phone, because they still have phones that are 6.5 inches that are big for viewing videos and whatnot. But just make sure you get something, in my opinion, at least Snapdragon 750G or 765 and a minimum of 6 gigs of RAM. And there's a lot of phones out there, everything from the Moto 5G One Ace, there's the A52 5G, there's the OnePlus N10 5G, but that one uses Snapdragon 690. There's a lot of phones in a prepaid market out there that you can get that are affordable, that will work and that will not lag and will play all your games just fine for the most part. Except for like Genshin Impact, you might have to play on lower settings. But again, make sure you get a market based on your needs rather than what you're trying to get, out of being cheap. I'll say it all the time. Again, as a consumer and as a person that used to work in a cell phone store, people typically buy phones because they see a price, they're trying to be cheap, and that's not the way to go about things. You get something that's based on your budget that still works. Also, the information that I got this website from, it's a little old now, obviously, but it's come from diffin.com. I meant to say that in the beginning of the video, but I keep forgetting that, again, this is my third video on the same subject, and my phone keeps getting interrupted. It's finally done now. So if you have any questions about Android or iOS, I'll do my best to answer them in the comments below and just kind of, individually message each person if they want to talk about it. Anyway, this is the video. See you in the next one.